Now I have been asked by one member of the team to take a look at Vauban for the second time. I did release a video about this frame's rework recently, but right after that, he had received a few more tweaks. I have also been informed that Super Train Man, Mr. Choo Choo Boy himself, have already documented these changes. All credits go to Railjack for sharing his thoughts first about this topic. So, what's so special about Vauban's balls right now? It got everything you need to kill enemies fast and easy. First off, Bastille got a very huge buff when it comes to high-level plays. It may sound very simple, but the inclusion of the armor stripping feature makes this ability one of the best when it comes to dealing with armored bullet sponge enemies. Not only that it strips armor, but it also immobilize enemies, making it a great crowd control ability also. It's one of the best utility skill in the game right now honestly. His first ability, Tesla Nervos, have some nuking capability when you pair it with the Tesla Bank Augment. It works well with you have some enemies hanging in your Bastille, with armor already stripped. As when you one Tesla Nervos get attached to an incapacitated enemy, all you need to do is kill that enemy, and the rest will instantly die also. Although it's unreliable sometimes, since it needs a lot of time and effort to set up, it's still good to know that you have the ability, as it gives you more option to kill enemies. Anyway, you can use all of these offensive setup with one build, and I will show it to you later. For now, let's move on to a better nuking option, and that is simply casting Bastille to strip armor, then turning it to Vortex, and following it with a Photon Strike. The process gets shorter against non-armored units, as all you got to do is cast Vortex and then Photon Strike. The best part is, his third ability got a pretty decent augment which allows you to conserve your energy once you hit up at least 5 enemies. Long story short, you get to nuke more enemies with your Photon Strike. But if there's one ability that I think received the most buff, that is his second ability, Mine Layer. Okay, settle down lads, I know some of you hate this ability but, let me explain its value first before you go rain down some hate comments on this video. His vector pads are fun to use, especially if you want to go running in open areas or troll those players in random groups who just love to sit in one corner, doing nothing. If you see one, launch them with your vector pads, but I really hope Digital Extremes will buff vector pads by a little. Say, make it like Volt's speed buff, wherein the buff will linger for a couple of seconds. The second mine layer is Overdriver, which gives out some nice damage buff to weapons, for both you and your allies. It also buffs the damage of your Flechette Orb, which turns it to a mini turret of doom. Speaking of Flechette Orb, this is the one that received the most attention. It's now became Octavia's little mallet of doom. Just a little disclaimer though, I'm not saying that it actually competes with Octavia's mallet, but what I'm trying to say is that it works like Octavia's mallet, since all you need to do is place it in a location, and just wait for enemies to die. Its damage is affected by ability strength, Vauban's Overdriver, Vauban's passive called Overdriver, and what's more interesting is, this ability does scale pretty well with enemy level. It means that it will perform better the higher the enemy level is, making it a perfect ability for high-level missions. But wait, that's not all of it. This ability has a secret synergy with the Mutalist Quanta. Nails that pass through the large orb of this weapon seems to receive some massive critical chance and damage multiplier. I don't know yet if the ability is affected by other Warframe buffing abilities, but if it does, then Flechette Orb could possibly the most impressive kill skill in the arsenal of Vauban. Okay, now, let's proceed to builds. But squad leader, you forgot about Tether Coil. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot that those things exists. Honestly, I don't have any use for Tether Coil in my setup, since I have Magus Lockdown, which does the job done with no energy cost at all. I don't hate the ability. I just find Magus Lockdown more suitable when it comes to locking down targets compared to Tether Coil. Okay, now that we are done knowing all the balls of Vauban, let's proceed on how I build him for endgame endurance runs. Do take note that this build is tailored towards endurance run in survival missions. If you are looking for a defensive, or crowd control build, then this is not the build for you. I will tackle those builds on the future, but for now, let's see how I stay for long periods in survival missions with my Vauban. The build is all about duration and power strength. The range of this build is meant for camping purposes. 100% range is enough to utilize my Bastille in one corner, and it's not meant to crowd control all enemies in a room, but to trap those enemies coming in the room where I'm in. Although I camp most of the time with Vauban in survival missions, I'm still using the Umbral mods, since I think that it's the best way to increase my survivability even for a bit, and increasing my power strength at the same time. Just always remember, at endgame levels, Vauban can only take one hit with this build. So, do not think for a second that having Umbral mods on your build will make your Vauban tanky. That's the thing about playing Vauban at endgame levels. Instead of complaining how squishy this frame is, we must focus on his amazing offensive abilities. No enemy can hit you when they are all dead, right? The augment slot is a personal preference, and you can try out any augment that you deem useful for your playstyle, or you can just put other mods on this slot that you want. Overall, Vauban is really amazing now when it comes to offense. I can agree to those players that he is still a squishy frame, but relying too much on defensive stats are kind of boring sometimes. Remember that this game is made for ninjas, and ninjas don't often need to be a tank to kill enemies. Rely on Vauban's offensive abilities, and rely on your skills to outthink and outmaneuver enemies. That's how you play Vauban in endgame levels. Be Batman, and not play as Superman who just rely on raw strength and power. So that's it. I hope you enjoy watching this video and find it informative. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more Warframe videos from this channel. Thank you so much for watching. Squad Leader signing off. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush. Take my eyes open to force reality. Why can't you just let me eat my weight in glee? I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids scream.